How quickly did you end your bad marriage? I had two good friends who were brothers. They were party animals. Out drinking at bars all the time, sleeping with different women every weekend, recreational drugs. Their idols were the whole jackass crew back in the day. They just loved that whole bachelor lifestyle, and to be honest, I was a bit jealous of the fun they were having. I was in a longer-term relationship for many years. Eventually, the younger brothers settled down and got engaged to a really nice girl. Something broke in the older brother's mind, and he suddenly was in some sort of race to get married before his younger brother. He kept living the bachelor lifestyle, but then one day announced to us all he was engaged to be married, and with his fiancée that set a wedding date to be married 6 months before his younger brother. None of us ever met this girl before we found out he was engaged. When we did meet her, it was clear he'd not been open with her about his lifestyle. She was a very prim and proper lady, very shy and quiet. They worked together, so she only knew the professional side of him. Over the months leading to the wedding, his partying kept going. He was cheating on her with one-night stands, but she was oblivious. Our group of friends told him he needed to tell her what he was doing, but he refused. I was nominated to be the one to tell her before it was too late. I met her for coffee and told her how he was cheating on her and the drugs he was using. She was generally taken aback, but she told me to my face she was still going to marry him and that she could change him. I left with a clear conscience after that. Fast forward to their wedding day and it's an absolute mess. He is drunk before the reception even starts and passes out in a corner sometime after dinner. As I'm leaving, I say goodbye to his bride and I can see it in her eyes. The definition of regret. They ended up being together for exactly 1 year. Her final straw was when she really wanted to go out for a special brunch for their 1-year anniversary. She made plans at a fancy place. He told her he was going out to party the night before, but would be home in time to get some sleep before their anniversary started. He ended up hooking up with some chick he picked up at the bar, and when he finally made it home the next afternoon, his wife had packed her bags and left. I felt bad for her at first, but then I remembered how I laid down everything on the table with her and she still did it. I've never seen or spoken to her again. My friend ended up repeating his pattern. He's on his 4th marriage now, but does seem to have finally settled down this time. 2 months in, he told me I was too fat and will no longer be having intercourse with me. I lost 75 pounds in 3 months by doing it the wrong way, and he told me he was already seeing someone else. He then seemed surprised my parents would no longer pay his bills and was kicked off their property 30 days later. Not my story, but a fraternity brother of my husband had a marriage that lasted maybe 100 days before they split. Apparently, she didn't realize that marrying a military person would mean moving around, and he just assumed she knew and was good with it. Not me, but a friend. Their marriage didn't last through the reception. Groom got absolutely wasted drunk and slapped the bride's child. He then hits the bride in the face too. She filed for an annulment the next morning. The groom was a truck driver, so he and the bride didn't spend a ton of time together over their relationship, so I guess she didn't know he was like that. The actual assault happened behind closed doors and was kept pretty hush-hush until the next morning to save face. I don't know enough about marriage law to comment on the legality of their marriage, but I was told she would be filing for an annulment. This all happened about 10 years ago, and I'm no longer in contact with the bride, but last I heard she was doing better and had moved on. The groom had racked up several thousands of dollars in debt in the bride's name during the relationship that wasn't discovered until things started falling apart. I think he's in jail now. 4 months in, he dislocated my jaw, but really what I want to share is the signs were there, and people should be aware of them. First, it was just grabbing my arm, kind of hard, then grabbing my arm hard enough to bruise it, then pushing, then slapping. It took years to escalate. I heard it gets worse. I didn't think too much of it. I thought, I'm not a wimp, and it isn't like he's beating me every day. I thought that's what domestic abuse looked like. Then I married him. Well, let me tell you, if they're grabbing, pushing, or hitting you, they will eventually hurt you worse. When she cheated on me for the 3rd time in 10 months, because for some reason the first 2 did not convince me. I had a friend who married one of the most horrible people I've ever met. So charming at first, but within the first 3 months of them being together, we all started to notice a few things and we decided none of us liked him. One day, we saw hand-shaped bruises on her arms, and literally the next day they were at the courthouse getting married. We had a small gathering shortly after, which he ended up turning into their wedding celebration, bachelor party, whatever he could to make it all about him. He got extremely drunk and basically tried to kill her in front of all of us. She told us they didn't have their rings yet, but they would get them soon, and he walked over to her and started strangling her for embarrassing him. She ended up breaking down and realizing that for the entire 4 months of their relationship and 9 days of their marriage, he had progressively gotten more and more abusive, and she made a mistake. On our honeymoon, she didn't want to do anything but fight, so I left 2 days early to be with my dog. Then she stopped wearing her ring and refused to tell people she was married, referring to me as her boyfriend instead. The final straw was when my grandpa was dying and she said, "I wish he'd just hurry up and die already. I'm tired of this apartment being so depressing all the time." We made it 4 months in, all before filing for divorce. We were together about a year, give or take a little. The relationship seemed relatively normal until we got married. She had her share of issues, bad childhood, severe anxiety, bulimia, but I was dumb and thought I could fix them. If there were red flags, why did I marry her? I had just had a really bad breakup with my girlfriend of 4 years, a few months before meeting my first wife. We had made plans for our future, marriage, kids, the works, and the breakup really messed me up. I was insecure and afraid of being alone, so I probably would have married anyone. Young, dumb, and unaccustomed to heartbreak. I may have gotten rid of the wife, but no chance in hell was I getting rid of the dog. We took her and moved her far away, and now she's got lots of people around all the time to spoil her and fatten her with treats. Are things better now? Very much so. I took a few years being single and just learning who I was and wanted to be. I'm happily remarried, and this time it's stuck. And I'm stuck. My wife won't let me leave. Send help. Not me, but my ex-girlfriend a few years ago. Before we met, she was dating a guy for about 7 years or so. Due to family pressures, tradition, etc., she went and got married to the guy. They went home in separate cars because she said they both realized it was a mistake. She lived with her cousins for 6 months because she was scared to tell her parents. I didn't really want to be married to my girlfriend at the time. However, she was determined to get married by age 24. At the time, I had significant difficulties saying no. I was working a 60+ odd hours a week in a kitchen to help pay for everything, and I was struggling with my mental health at the time, and we grew further and further apart emotionally through this process. Then I found out less than 5 months into the marriage that she had been unfaithful to me for at least a year. While she had been planning our wedding, she had been sleeping with other people. She had been putting serious pressure on me to provide money for her dream wedding too. She also had an abortion because she didn't know whether I would have been the father or not. When I found this all out, I basically had a breakdown and thought about taking my own life. But my bros helped me realize it was not my fault. Shout out to the bros. Thanks for supporting Ask Planet.